Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Crystal. Today, our special guest is a fabulous musician, songwriter, recording artist, and rock and roll star, and his name is Sean McCarthy. Welcome to the program, Sean.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Always good.
Oh, that's great. Look, I'm really excited to speak with you today. You know, you've got a new album out, I believe, and we'll get to that shortly. But I've got a few things, I think our listeners might like to get to know you a little bit, and I certainly would. So if you're fine with that, we'll just dive straight into it.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Excellent. All right, so I'd be very interested to know who or what was your earliest musical influence or an inspiration for you?
Well, growing up, like the radio was always on. Mum had the radio going on all the time, but I suppose the first time I heard Pink Floyd, because Mum got me a copy of The Wall, I think, and then of course AC/DC was all the rage at high school. So both those bands played heavily um, as an influence. Then the Angels came along, and then it pretty much opened up after that. Lots and lots of other things. Deep Purple had a big impact. Led Zeppelin, of course, Jethro Tull. So yeah, and then currently, I'll listen to just about anything from country to classical music. As far as influences go with my songwriting, probably my partner has influenced me in the direction of my writing, because I was writing about bad experiences with people in the past, but my partner and I have had so many good experiences over the last decade. That's inspired a lot of songs.
Wow, that's great. And what's your
Yeah,
partner's name? Let's give her a little shout out, shall we?
yeah, Deborah.
Deborah. Oh, I think Deborah's a lucky lady.
Yeah. She'll tell you that too.
Yeah, Pink Floyd Off the Wall, that was just a fabulous album and quite groundbreaking, I believe, for the time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I remember listening to them as well. I never saw the Angels live, did you?
Um, I saw them, but I don't really remember them. I was quite inebriated. So back when I was living in Wagga at the time.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I was
that's fabulous.
I was at a club.
Yeah.
It's funny. The first time I saw Angry Anderson on stage, we were at a hotel and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were all expecting to get told last drinks.
Yep.
Went to the bar to see if we could get one, and I ordered a handful of schooners, and the girl just served me, and I thought, what's going on here? And then just as I sat down, the curtains opened up and Angry Anderson and the boys walked out and started playing, and it was like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh, fabulous. I've met Angry and he's just a fabulous performer.
Yeah, yeah,
Fabulous. And a great icon of Australian music.
yeah. Couldn't agree more with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sean, how did you get your start in bands and playing music live?
Mm. I, as I said, I when I started writing, it was from a position of pain, and I'd bought a guitar off Stan Mobbs. He was the bass guitarist of the 4-Day Riders, and he owned the guitar factory at Parramatta.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Yeah, and I because I'm left-handed, it never occurred to me to look for a left-handed guitar.
Oh,
So, as a kid, I'd learned harmonic, or I'd been given a harmonica, and then it's at high school. One of the guys tried to teach me to play drums, but yeah, Stan introduced me to a right-hand guitar, and from there it was just a matter of once I realised that I could now play it, because I'd tried to play right-handed instruments and it just hadn't worked.
No.
I started writing, and then you go into jam nights, and then a mate of mine and I landed a gig. I think it was at the Cat and Fiddle in Balmain.
Oh, yes, yes.
So we went down and did, consequently, a few shows down there as a duo, electric duo, and then a bass guitarist joined, and then a drummer joined, and it's done the whole. I know it's a cliche, but it was like a snowball going down a mountain. Off it went.
Oh, that's fabulous. And have you always been called Red Whisky?
No. The first band was Stimulus.
Stimulus, yeah.
Yeah, Stimulus with a T on the end, just
Okay.
trying to play with words and emotions and that sort of thing. So they went for 3 or 4 years. The lead guitarist was an amazing guitarist called Ray Fowson.
I know Ray. He's wonderful, yes.
Yeah, he just awesome guitarist, wonderful fella. If you've seen any of his artwork too, you'll know what an inspiring artist he is. So
I have actually. He's done a caricature, is it, of me? Yeah, a long time ago, and I've seen a lot of his drawings that he posts on Facebook, and he's quite talented, yes,
yeah,
and a talented musician as well, yes.
yeah. I owe him a debt. The man, I had some wonderful shows with him. We travelled quite a distance. We had some residencies at different hotels, but he just, great guitarist. And I think at one stage Ray was in. He'd been offered the lead guitar work with Hush.
Truly, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, if you ask him, he'll explain it to you. But I think his university commitment stopped him from taking the position. So, but yeah, that's how good a guitarist he was. So,
Oh, that's fabulous. So it just snowballed from there. Different players joined you, and so from Stimulus,
yeah,
did it become another band after that, or?
Stimulus. We pulled the pin on Stimulus. I think it had gone as far as it could, and Ray and I then created a band called Down Thunder, which 15 years later is still going.
Wow.
Unfortunately, Ray's not with us now, but there's a guy called Rod Thane playing lead guitar for Down Thunder now. But Stimulus was originally our original songs,
Oh, cool,
whereas
cool.
Down Thunder's an Aussie rock tribute show. It's covers.
Yep.
So, and Stimulus did go down that road as well, turned into a cover band. But after taking a break from Stimulus for a while, I still wanted to be able to do the original songs. And when I rebranded it, Ray had some personal reasons why he didn't want to be involved with a band with a name that suggested alcohol, and so I respected that. And it was unfortunate because I really liked playing with Ray, and So Red Whisky was born, and that's been going in December this year. That'll be 10 years.
Oh, congratulations. That is
Yeah.
fabulous. That really is fabulous.
Yeah.
And in those 10 years, how many songs would you say you've written?
Wow. I'd say around 100.
Oh, that's fabulous. That is really
Um,
excellent.
a lot of them, well, it's actually probably a bit more than 100. It's probably around 120, 130. Not all of those songs ever see the light of day.
Yep.
I was flicking through one of the first folders of songs that I had the other day, and I couldn't remember half of what I'd written. So I couldn't remember the melodies of some of the songs that I'd written because I never recorded them. So yeah.
And
But
you
then,
didn't have an 8-track.
no. Actually, Ray recorded a lot of the stuff we did live. I've got CDs, piles of CDs that Ray did for me. So I have got a record of a lot of the songs that we did do. But yeah, there's a lot that never saw the light of day, and Yeah.
Well,
There
who
was,
who knows? In the future, you might revisit those lyrics and put new music to them.
yeah, well, that's the plan, in inverted commas, he says.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I look at the moment, I'm sort of focusing on moving forward, and those songs were what they were, and they'll probably stay where they are. Maybe when I look back through and there might be a line in one of them that I'm like, oh yeah, I'll pinch that and use that in another song. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So, can you tell me a funny story from your early days in your first band, and or the duo, or whenever? A funny story from a gig, maybe.
look, things that happen on the road.
Stay on the road.
Yeah, there's you know there's a lot of different. I guess one of the things that comes to mind is we had a lead singer for one of the bands who was quite an entertaining gentleman, and he's a good mate, so I won't name him, but he was holding court at the end of a gig one night, and the lead guitarist in the band was sitting behind him, and to all to all accounts and purposes, it looked like the lead guitarist had gone to sleep.
Okay.
So the lead singer's yakking away, and all of a sudden we've just all burst out laughing, and the lead singer thought it was because of the story he was telling, and this happened 2 or 3 more times before he started to realise something was going on behind him.
Yeah.
Well, he's turned around, and the only thing behind him was the lead guitarist, and the lead guitarist appeared to be asleep. But in effect, what was going on was while he was talking, the lead guitarist was waking up and making all these funny gestures, and so he had us all in stitches. And yeah, the lead singer still, I don't think he's sure whether we were laughing with him or at him
Or
or
at him.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh, that's a great story. Yeah, there must be so many gig stories that, you know, over the years that it's probably just a little bit hard to choose, isn't it? As
yeah,
well, you
yeah.
know.
Look, I'm lucky in that I've played with a lot of guys with great senses of humour.
Yes.
So there's a lot of laughing and enjoyment um, in most of the stuff I do. Um, you know, Coffee Carrington, for instance, is a trio that I've got right now um, that grew out of Sean Mac Trio, which was my original trio.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, Sean Mac Trio released an album called Hint of a Cool Breeze some years just before COVID, I think. But the premise for that whole band is that we've got to be enjoying ourselves. We've got to be laughing and always cracking jokes. Otherwise, the music's secondary to the just enjoying each other's company.
Oh, look, I absolutely do believe that in a band situation or trio or duo, you have to like each other.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you have to be able to have a laugh and not be too serious.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So if you've got that, you're already winning, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. And there's a time and place for seriousness, and
Yeah.
you know, but still, you do need to bring an amount of brevity to that seriousness as well. So
Yeah. And you know, when you're playing a gig, the crowd can feel whether you guys are good mates or whether you don't like each other. You can quite clearly feel it, you
yeah,
know?
well, it's funny. There's the lead guitarist for Down Thunder right now. His name's Rod Thane. He master of the one line.
Yep.
So both him and the drummer, throughout the show, we'll be just cracking one-liners. So you know, and it's never with any warning. You know, you'll finish a song, we'll all be looking at each other to start the next song, and then either him or the drummer, John Duffy, will pop out a one-liner, and it quite often leaves the singer in a position where he's trying to sing the lines without laughing his head off. But and you're right, it does transfer. People pick up on it.
Absolutely. If you're having a good time, the crowd's having a good time. I
Yeah,
firmly believe that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
what's your favourite genre of music, Sean?
It would have to be classic Aussie rock.
Perfect, yep.
Yeah, bluesy rock.
Yep.
Something that's cool and rocky at the same time. That always, the whole Rose Tattoo-ish sort of AC/DC, that sort of, the classic example is Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. It's that laid back bluesy rock
Yes.
that just, you nod your head, tap your feet, it just gets you going. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, there's nothing more than the energy, when you're with a rock band or listening to a rock band or participating in one.
yeah,
There's nothing like the energy of it. Once that drum beat gets going,
yeah,
and then the bass comes in and then the guitars come in, it's something else, absolutely indeed, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you've got to get your dimensions and your wings right in your band. You need a front man who can take people's attention and hold it. You need a drummer that can hold everything together, and
Yes.
and your wings you need to have a great bass guitarist and a great lead guitarist for wings on the side of the band to make it all fly. So and in the middle of all that there'll be a rhythm guitarist, hopefully, that's doing his job, just sitting in the pocket with the bass guitarist holding down the bottom end. So
Yeah, well, the rhythm section, so to speak, the drums, the bass, and rhythm guitar, they're
mm,
so important to a band. And the
yeah,
drummer probably especially too because he keeps the beat, he keeps the time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you want one that just wants to keep in the level area and not one that speeds up or slows down.
yeah.
So yeah, that is especially important. So what instrument is it that you play for those people that don't know, Sean?
At the moment, I'm playing an electric guitar
Hmm.
in the bands I'm in. I've dabbled with harmonica and played drums before. I played drums for a guy called Sean Madden for a while back in the past. And the bass guitarist's name was Mark Wallace. Those two guys had written some awesome songs. I was fortunate enough to play with them for the duration that the band went after their first drummer left. Um, but yeah, at the moment, I'm just really invested in the guitar. Um, it's you know something that it's a discipline, and it
Yes.
and it takes a lot of work. Um, and it's not just something that you can learn and then rest on your laurels with it. You continually it's an instrument that continually challenges me.
Yes. Yes.
And just when you think you've got one thing or the other worked out, it leads you to the next thing, which leads you to the next thing, which leads you to the next thing. So it's a constant instrument of growth. Um,
And
Again,
takes you down the rabbit hole quite often, I'd imagine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've been fortunate with a guy called Brent Den, who was the lead guitarist for the Radiators after Fess left.
Mm.
Um, he's he took me on as a student, and you know it's just the stuff that I've learnt from him. It's just every I've been going to see Brent now for probably 4 or 5 years as his student,
Hmm.
and sometimes it feels like I've never picked a guitar up before, but there's a lot of times when I go there and he just seems to pick up things that I'm struggling with and knows how to help me get through them. Yeah,
And that's a great teacher, isn't it?
yeah, and he's one of the few guys who I found when he's teaching me, he in, innately understands the pace that I need to go at.
Okay, that's very important.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I think I've been able to stay working with him as his student, because he understands my speed. You know, I've met some great guitarists who've tried to help me play better, but it's always been at their speed. And, you know, when you can't go at their speed, they get a little bit frustrated. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So, what was your teacher's name again, Sean?
Brent, Brent Den.
Brendan. So, we're giving him a big shout out as well. That's
Yeah,
fabulous. Well, I hope you continue on with it because you can always learn something new from a good teacher and always improve yourself. I firmly believe that.
yep.
Yeah. So, with guitar, what guitar brand do you normally play?
Um, I've been fortunate enough to buy a variety of different brands. So I've got my main go-to guitar is a Fender. It's a '97 Stratocaster,
Hmm.
American-made Stratocaster, and it actually, speaking of Ray Falzon, it came to me through Ray Falzon. He was the one that he got it, found it for me,
Oh, wow. Yep.
and it was one of those guitars, because they're a personal thing. Guitars, you know, you can pick up 100 guitars and not like any of them, and then you pick the next one up and it just feels like an extension of your body. And that's what happened with this guitar Ray bought me. It felt like an extension of my body when I picked it up.
Yeah, oh,
And,
that's fabulous. Yeah.
and I really haven't put it down since Ray bought it for me. So
Oh, it's
uh,
wonderful. And what color is it?
it was sunburst,
Hmm.
um, but it's, yeah, some of the black around the edges is worn off, and you know, it's the paint's cracked in places and it's got holes in it. And
Well,
it's
that's the mark of a good musician is when his guitar looks like it's been played.
yes and no. Some people can play their guitars for their whole life and keep them looking brand new, and some of them wear them in, and yeah, they get road worn.
Yeah.
The guitar Ray bought me, the funny thing with it is someone had damaged the headstock, and it had snapped
Oi.
before I got it.
Mhm.
So a mate of mine out at Penrith, Alan Dean, he's a luthier.
Mhm.
He fixed it for me, and yeah, it's it, they did a seamless fix on it. You know, it's just beautiful now. So
It's amazing what some of those luthiers can do with a guitar, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. So, but I've also got some Gibsons. I've got, you know, a couple of Les Pauls, both Gibson and Esquire. I've got Epiphone, not Esquire.
Yep.
I've got an SG. I've got a 335 copy. Um, yeah, a couple of Telecasters laying around the place. A myriad of acoustic guitars
Yep.
from Martin's Courts. Um, yeah, quite a few different styles.
Now, like BB King,
Mm.
does
Yep.
your any of your guitars have a name?
The very first guitar I bought was a no-name brand. That's called Scratch.
Mhm.
It's an old Casino was the brand name on it, actually. I've got a 2004 Fender that's called Alice.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, that was when I bought it. It's pretty much, yeah. It got the name over during COVID. I don't know how it ended up being called Alice.
Okay. Not
Um,
not from the song, "Living
no, no,
Next
no,
Door to Alice."
no, God, no, no, no.
No, no,
Just
no.
I wrote every day. I wrote like a blog during COVID while we were in lockdown.
Yep. Yep.
And when I talked about the guitar, for some reason, I just called her Alice. So
And it's stuck. That's
yeah,
wonderful. I love that, and I
yeah,
love when guitarists name the ladies in their life.
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah,
Okay, so your current band is Red Whisky, as we said,
yep,
and I've run into you guys at LA Studios a few times, and I've heard what you guys are doing in the rehearsal studio, and it's quite impressive.
yep.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, so for Red Whisky, what's coming up?
Right, well, the 1st of September, we've got the album launch. The album was recorded in 2018 at the Bull and Bush, and we will be doing the album launch at the Bull and Bush.
Oh, that should be an absolutely fun night.
Yeah, so that's on the 1st of September. And if any of you know who Vanquished are, a good mate of mine, Spider White, they're doing the support for us, so they'll open the show for us. Apart from that, I know I've got in September, I run a charity event to raise money for Are You OK?
A very, very worthy cause.
Yeah, so that'll be on the 10th of September at Gasparo's restaurant near Bankstown on Henry Lawson Drive. But yeah, the album launch, that's the 1st of September at the Bull and Bush.
Yeah.
So,
well, I hope everybody can get along to see you guys and support you, and also support your worthy causes.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, good.
What's on the drawing board for you past your album launch? And the album launch, the album is called Live at the Bull and Bush.
Yep.
Yeah. And 2018 it was recorded, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, that's great. So now I just want to talk about, you've sent me a song off the album, and it's called Eve of Destruction. Now,
Yeah, that was one of the songs that we recorded at a studio prior to 2018. There was probably half a dozen songs that we recorded. None of them were really finished in any way, shape, or form, other than the 3 that made it to the end of the album. So the live tracks, there's 7 live tracks, and then there's 3 studio tracks that fill out the album. And one of the songs that I chose for the listeners to hear was Eve of Destruction. That was one of the songs that we recorded prior to the live album. So yeah.
Okay. And just what do you, or how to say, when you're recording a song, and do you prefer to do it in the studio, or did you really like it being recorded live at a venue?
They're 2 different animals. Having said that, you can go into the studio and record live. So, but when I did Hint of a Cool Breeze, that was at Twang and Bang Studios with Paula McMahon.
Oh, yes.
That was all done. I put down guide tracks, and then we built that instrument by instrument. So I would play the rhythm guitar, then someone else came in and played the drums, the bass guitarist came in, then there was lead guitar put down, then the vocals were put down, and then we went back and added other instruments, other effects that went on, whereas in some bands, like AC/DC are renowned for going into the studio and as a group and recording the song as a group. So, yeah, it depends, I guess, on who your engineer is, how things get recorded.
Yeah, so two different animals there, so to speak.
Yeah.
But what is it you prefer to do? Do you prefer to record in the studio as a live band, or each track separately, as you mentioned, and layer them over?
I don't have a preference, really. I enjoy both. I have got an album that I recorded live at Red Rock. That was recorded at Red Rock Studios in Girraween. And that was done live. So, if something went wrong, we were able to stop. But, the 3 of us just sat there in the room looking at each other, and myself, the bass guitarist and drummer, and recorded it live. So that was enjoyable, but I also enjoyed, doing it the other way as well, where you build layer upon layer upon layer by doing it individually.
Yeah, doing it individually as well. From my perspective, you can get a little bit too pedantic because you maybe play the section and then you listen back to it and go, oh no, I don't like that. And so you restart it again. So there's always that danger too of getting a little bit too perfect, to be too perfectionist about it.
Well, you do have to be able to live with the product at the end of the day, and
True.
um, probably the reason live at Red Rock hasn't been released yet is that very reason. Is I'm still not ready to live with it yet. It's one of those albums. It still needs to grow on me a bit more before I release it.
We,
Whereas
yeah.
live at Bull and Bush, that I took it over to Brent to have a look at. He asked if he could master one of the tracks on, or mix one of the tracks on there. And when it came back, it was chalk and cheese. I couldn't believe how much better it sounded after it had been mixed properly.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, that was why the whole album then got done, was because I could see the value in it, and it was something that I could live with.
Yeah.
Whereas, Hint of a Cool Breeze, I don't think doing those songs live it would have worked the way I wanted it to. I wanted to be able to put second and third guitar parts on the songs. Yeah. So again, each album, you need to look at where you want it to end up to decide whether it's going to be something you want to record live in the studio or record over time in the studio.
Yeah. 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 Well, hopefully we don't have to wait too long for that live at Red Rock to come out. That would be wonderful. So hopefully you can get that mixed, by somebody, and we can launch that soon. That'd be wonderful, I reckon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so before we move on to listening to your MP3 called Eve of Destruction, I'd just like to ask you, who is the best live act that you've seen?
AC/DC. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yep.
Having said that, not Lady Antebellum. My partner and I went to see that because my partner really likes Lady Antebellum. They did a fantastic show too. Leonard Skinner, when I saw them, they were awesome. But yeah, when I think about what's the best live act I've ever seen, it would going to see AC/DC just stuck with me, and it's stuck in my head. And anytime anyone mentions live concerts, it's the first thing I think of.
And do you think that's because they were just so raw and so full of energy and just, I recall a story of Malcolm laying on his bed with his feet up against the wall, just playing and playing and playing his guitar. Do you think it's because they're just ordinary boys who made it big through just passion? And great music, of course.
I think their music and their lyrics empathised the zeitgeist. It was, they understood the energy around them.
Yes.
Um, and it was easy for a young guy growing up in the western suburbs to relate to what Bon was singing about. And Brian in the latter years. So, yeah, it's funny because I go through phases with AC/DC where sometimes I'll put on an album, it's like it's the first time I've heard it. And then other times it's like I won't listen to it for months on months and months on end.
Yeah.
But having said that, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I think I've watched about 10 DVDs of theirs and re-listened to about half of the albums. So it's it's something that resonates with me. That's the style of music I write. That's, Red Whisky's written in that vein of AC/DC, The Angels, Rose Tattoo. It's got that earthiness, that grittiness about it.
That's what I've found listening to some of your music as well, that it's that in that vein, and it's just so passionate too. You have a great passion, Sean, and I hope you continue with that, and I hope you continue songwriting as well, and performing, of course.
Yep.
So now we're just going to take a moment and we're going to listen to Eve of Destruction.
Right.
I'm looking at an ocean of 1,000 sleeping minds. No wonder what they're dreaming in this most radical of times. Are they dreaming of a future? Oh, that their kids won't mind. Or are they gonna be angry? Oh, with the world that they find. We're on the eve of destruction, fatal crime, eve of destruction, such a fine line. Well, I'm looking at a world, and we seem so blind. The big dog is barking, covering up a crime. We're on the eve of destruction, fatal crime, eve of destruction, such a fine line. We're on the eve of destruction, makes me want to scream. Eve of destruction, don't you get what I mean? The mud is like a desert, the rivers all run dry. No trees on the mountain, and there's damage from the sky. Now the well is empty, and the truth can't fly. And the lady lost the blindfold, so can you tell me why? We're on the eve of destruction, fatal crime, eve of destruction, such a fine line. Eve of destruction makes me want to scream. Eve of destruction, don't you get what I mean? Eve of destruction, fatal crime, eve of destruction, such a fine line. We're on the eve of destruction, makes me want to scream. Eve of destruction, but don't you get what I mean?
Wow, Sean, I think that's an absolutely fabulous track, and I wish you all the success with it. And I hope that your album launch at the Bull and Bush Live on the 1st of September is going to be a rip-roaring success, and actually I'm sure it will be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just on that track, what struck me was there's some really excellent lead guitar on there. Are you a lead guitarist as well?
Brent Den,
Brent Den.
the guitarist on that for me. That was one of the surprises with the album. Brent played for the Radiators, I think it was 9 years, after Fest left. And then COVID stopped all that. And then when they came out the other side, they started working with another guitarist. But yeah, in course of mixing the album, I went over to visit Brent to have a listen one day, and and he put the song on, and a little while into the song, I'm thinking, there's another guitar on there. And then, of course, the lead broke across the speakers, and it's like the bigger the smile on my face got, the bigger the smile got on his face. And then I sort of looked at him quizzically, and he nodded. He knew what I was thinking, and I just was so grateful that he'd gone and put the solo and some rhythm guitar on there as well. So.
Oh yeah, it's really a great track. I really love it.
Mm.
Okay, so is there anything else you would like to add to let the listeners know what's happening with you guys or with you personally? Where else, apart from the Bull and Bush, can we expect to see Red Whisky or your trio?
Okay, well, Red Whisky, as I said, it's the 1st of September we're doing the Bull and Bush. The 9th of September we're up at Hornsby Inn, and then the 10th of September we'll be doing a short set at Gasparo's. For people out of Sydney, we're at Bathurst in September. We're in Lithgow in October. Long Jetty in December. We're lots of different places. We're up in Werriwa in December as well. If you like your Aussie rock, Down Thunders at St Mary's Leagues on Friday night this week. We're playing at the Clarendon in September. Then we're out at Mudgee in September.
Oh, Mudgee, that's a bit of a hike, eh?
Yeah. We're down in Kiama in October. They'll be at the Bull and Bush in November. They'll be at the Coolabah in December. And then Avoca Beach Hotel next year for Australia's Day.
Yep.
Coffee Carrington hopefully is going to be doing a gig in October at the Railway Hotel. And
where's the Railway Hotel? Whereabouts?
That's at Windsor.
Windsor, yes.
And the other band, Big Steel, will be at the Commercial Hotel, probably at Lithgow. So.
That's wonderful. And all of these dates and venues, are they on your social pages?
Yes, you can find Down Thunder, Red Whisky, Big Steel, Coffee Carrington, all on Facebook. There's also Reverb Nation pages, and there's YouTube pages. So a lot of there's lots and lots of video on the YouTube pages of Red Whisky Originals and Coffee Carrington Originals. So.
Oh, that's great. You've done so much, Sean, and like I said, I really hope that you continue to do that and put more albums out of your original music. And, I'm sure everybody's going to look forward to that. And I just wish you all the luck and have a lot of fun at your album launch at the Bull and Bush on the 1st of September.
Really appreciate it. I'm really grateful to you for asking me to do this interview. I really, really appreciate it, Christina.
Thank you, and I appreciate you being my
Crystal.
first guest. Crystal, yeah, that's fine. All right, well, thanks very, very much, Sean. And hopefully we'll hear from you again. I'd love to interview you again with another album launch or another song even.
I was going to say, did you want me to send you one of the live tracks?
Actually, yeah, that'd be great, and I'll just add it into this interview. That'd be fantastic. I'm sure that everybody would love to hear it as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. That was Sean McCarthy from Red Whisky, and we thank you very much. And good night, Sean.
Thank you very much, Crystal.
Thank you. And now here is Sean's other track he sent through for us. It's called Lonely Birds. I hope you enjoy.
Oh, Balcombe Hills, you're wonderful. shines through the clouds above, or on a distant peak. Or was that just me remembering you? Was it you being gone a week? I've already forgotten you. I'm rocking out with somebody new. I'm rocking out with somebody new. Guess so, little girl, it ain't you. Erupting from the mountainside, lover, it's spewing like hot grease. Or was that just your pal Tim McGill, who had to reach the peaks? A lonely bird to make a hollow sound when they're flying in the night. I know I made the right decision, girl, but when I say goodbye, I've already forgotten you. I'm rocking out with somebody new. I'm rocking out with somebody new. Guess what, little girl? It ain't you. I've almost forgotten you. And I'm rocking out now with somebody new. I said I'm rocking out with somebody new. Guess what, little girl? It ain't you. I've already forgotten you. I'm rocking out with somebody new. I'm rocking out with somebody new. And guess what, little girl?
And wasn't that just a fabulous track? Thanks again, Sean, for sending it through so we could include it as well. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining me on this, my first episode of the podcast, Conversations with Crystal. We were joined tonight by the fabulous Sean McCarthy from Red Whisky, Damn Good Rock and Roll. Please join us again next week. We have another special guest. Until then, everyone, stay not just awesome, stay cool and stay tuned. This is your hostess, Crystal, signing off. Good night.